Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that the right book at the right time can change lives, and that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So that's what we do here on the KidLit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature: picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels for readers of all ages. In each episode, we'll talk with children's literature authors and discuss their books, their hopes, their dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. Whether you're an adult reading to their inner child or connecting the young readers in your life with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. So grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of KidLit Love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the KidLit Love podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your KidLit loving host, inviting you back to another bookish conversation with a children's literature author. Today, I'm talking with Angela Cervantes. Angela is an award-winning author whose novels include The Cursed Moon, Letty Out Loud, Allie First and Last, and Gabby Lost and Found. She's collaborated with American Girl and authored junior novelizations for Disney's Coco and Encanto. She's here today to talk about her newest release, The Mystery of the Stolen World Cup Trophy. It's a fast-paced detective story that follows a 12-year-old sleuth as he races to uncover the stolen trophy before the championship match. It's perfect for mystery-loving middle grade readers and sports enthusiasts alike, and I can't wait to talk with her all about it. So let's get right to the episode. Angela, welcome to KidLit Love. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful for the invitation.
Yes, I said before we hit record, and I'll say for listeners again, it was one of those moments I got to call up my daughter, who is newly away at college, and say, guess who I get to talk to today. So this is doubly exciting for me, having enjoyed your books with my daughter as well. So thank you for
You're very
everything
welcome,
you've
and that's
written.
very sweet. Yes.
Now, before we get into your newest book that we're here to talk about and celebrate today, I'd love if you can give us just a bit of your backstory and a little bit of the journey you've taken through children's literature to this newest release.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. My career started almost 14 years ago with the first publication of my book by Scholastic, Gabby Lost and Found. 14 years ago. And it has just been a pretty steady career since then. But I'd been dreaming of being a published author since I was a kid. When people ask me, when did you become an author? I always tell them when I was 9 years old. I just
Yeah.
became published in 2012. But I was always writing stories, always gathering my friends on the porch to tell them scary stories. So if it wasn't oral storytelling, it was writing stories in my notebooks,
Yeah.
hoping that people would read them and like them. And I was very lucky. I grew up with very encouraging teachers, a lot of encouragement from my girlfriends and my friends and my family who would read my stories and ask for more. And that kind of let me know that I was, on the right track, that I had something. And my teachers would sometimes take my work and read it aloud in the classroom, which was like nerve-wracking, but really cool because,
Yeah.
the kids would start to react to it. As she got to a part that was supposed to be scary, they'd look over at me and give me these little eyes like, wow, that was really scary. Or if a part was supposed to be funny, they would laugh and I'd be like, yes, I got them to laugh.
I did it.
And then, later on after school, they'd be like, you got to write more of that, or you should write about my friend's quinceañera party that went wrong, and give me ideas. And I loved it when they give me ideas. Kids still give me ideas today when I do school visits and that just means that they like my writing so much that they think I've got a good voice to tell their story that's very special to them. So that means a lot.
Yeah. There is just something magical, as we talked before we pressed record, about middle grade reading, about the
Yes.
books we encounter, about how they touch with us, stay with us, stick with us, kind of cement into our identity and who we are. And it's pretty wonderful that you got to experience that other side of that, like seeing your classmates, really react to your writing like that. I
Yeah.
imagine was just this really wonderful push to just keep going, keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, it kind of felt like, I mean, when you're little, you're not sure what you're supposed to do. You don't know if kids are going to like you, but they liked my stories, and that was enough for me. It made
Yeah,
me interesting. The interesting kid who was always writing in her notebook, the shy girl who loved to gather people and tell them scary stories on the porch. So
yeah,
it gave me like a little part of something I could enjoy and make friends with?
yeah. Now you've mentioned notebook, and I have a rule here because I am a notebook hoarder. That if
Yes, I am
anybody
too.
ever says the word notebook, that I absolutely have to ask them if there is a certain notebook, a certain kind. Are you still a notebooker where you're jotting some things down by hand? Like tell me all the
Absolutely.
notebook things.
Yes, absolutely. Since I started out so young, just using the school notebooks. Those just kind of like,
Yes.
it started out as wide lined and then it became more fine lined and they were spiral notebooks, and
Yes.
you could put stickers on them and make them your own. Those were what I started out with. But now I kind of people always buy me journals and I use
Mhm.
those. Moleskin journals, essay journals, leather bound journals, journals with
Yes.
beautiful peacocks and pretty pictures on them. And I am a hoarder too. I keep them all and I love them. And I probably have like six right now on my bookshelf that are yet to be filled.
Yes.
And because I just have so many, but I give some of them away sometimes when I do school visits. If I meet a young writer and a teacher has said, hey, this child is a young writer, really wants to be a writer, I might, give them a journal and say, hey, I started with a notebook, I started with a journal, here, take this. And they're always super excited because there's
Yeah.
nothing like receiving a journal and with a pen and being told to go write. It
Yeah.
just feels so good. I know for a fact that feels good because I've lived it.
Yeah.
And I just see their little faces kind of light up because someone's believing in them and
Yeah.
telling them to go do that. There's nothing wrong with writing.
Yeah.
So I always try to take a little extra journal that I have with me too, in case I meet a young writer while I'm out there.
Oh my gosh, if that had ever happened to me, I
Right?
probably would have exploded from joy and happiness and
Yeah,
all of the things. What a wonderful ritual that would just be everything
yeah,
to the child, right? It's a for me a notebook is it's something that says like I see you, right? Because
yeah,
whatever goes on the page, there's no judgment. No one needs to see it. It's just this really safe, sacred place until
absolutely.
I choose, if I choose to put
Mhm.
those words out there. And it's just such an invitation. So I love that you do that. That's
Oh,
wonderful.
good. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I get all the range of emotions from the really shy kid just kind of quietly, walking away with it. They can't
Hmm.
believe it. And then the teacher will come up later or write me later and say, like, the kid is writing in that notebook. Every time I
Yeah.
see them, they're writing away. To kids who scream and jump up, like, can't believe it. Look what I have. And
Yeah.
it's always very sweet. I know it means a lot to them, and I try to never take that for granted. And when I do forget to take a notebook, I always feel really horrible. I'm always like, oh, I didn't bring my notebook to give
Right.
away this day. So yeah.
Now, this book that we're here to celebrate today. This book, oh gosh. So I always joke that as an adult mystery reader, I am terrible. I can never figure it out. It's hard for me to follow. Mystery is not my genre. So when I get middle grade mysteries, I feel a little bit more competent. But
Yay.
your book had me questioning and wondering and guessing and going back and forth. Like, this is going to be a book that those middle grade mystery lovers, those middle grade sports lovers, just middle grade readers are going to be flipping those pages, like page after page. Like, what is happening? I don't give spoilers here, but when I got close to the end and something was revealed, I had one of those, like, where did that come from? I totally missed that one. So I love how literally glued to the page
Oh,
your readers are going to be in this mystery. And so with that little segue, I'd love for you to tell listeners a bit about the book and
sure.
what I've learned is some real life inspiration
Oh
behind it as
yeah.
well. So tell us both of those things.
Yeah. So The book kind of came from the inspiration behind the book came from my two loves, which is I love mystery novels. I
Mhm.
always loved reading mystery novels. I still love mystery novels. When I was a kid, I tried to be the kind of reader that solved the mystery before the author ever
Yeah,
told me. I grew up with a lot of Nancy Drew. I started reading Agatha Christie. I just loved every mystery I could get my hands on. And lucky for me, kids out there in the world still love a good mystery novel because
sure
every school
do.
visit I go to, they'll tell me mystery or scary book, write one of those. And so that makes me very happy because to be a mystery reader means you love curiosity, you love problem solving, you love a thrill and adventure. And so I try to put all those things into this book. The Mystery of the Stolen World Cup Trophy. I try to put my love for mystery novels, the classic whodunit, and combined it with soccer. Yes. A lot of people think, did not see that coming, soccer. But it's true. I love soccer. I grew up watching soccer. I was never a great soccer player. And where I come from at the time was not a big, huge soccer base, Kansas. Now soccer is huge here,
Right.
all across the United States now. But when I was growing, it was not, but we watched it and I loved it. I love the fandom of it, the
Mhm.
thrill of it, sort of the cultural ties to it being Mexican American. We all had our Mexican jerseys, soccer jerseys that we would wear to watch games. And oh my gosh, we'd cry when they lost and we'd dance when they would win. And it just became a big deal. And the World Cup on top of that was just such a huge thing. To see your country represented in one of the greatest games, greatest tournaments in the world. Like it is watched by billions of people all over the world. It connects a little girl growing up in Topeka with someone growing up in Nairobi, Kenya. A
Yeah,
kid growing up in Nairobi,
yeah,
Kenya to someone growing up in Rio de Janeiro. A little kid growing up in Rio de Janeiro connects them to some kid in Seattle, Washington,
yeah.
because we all have teams that we love and we all follow the World Cup. And I love that sort of global touch of the World Cup. Now, if there's any teachers out there listening to us, I'm sure they understand that kids are often, especially soccer lovers, they want to know who's the GOAT, Messi or Ronaldo. That is a question I get
Yeah,
very often at every school visit I go to. And I try to avoid answering that question because I know I'm going to create a division. It's a
yes,
very dangerous question. If I go and they're going, Messi's the GOAT, clearly, wow, I've just completely,
yeah,
angered all the Ronaldo fans. And if I say Ronaldo, all the Messi kids will be up in arms. So it's a question I get at almost every school visit the minute I tell them that soccer is one of my favorite sports. And so seeing that love and that energy, I kind of was like, well, where are the books for these kids that
yeah.
kind of put soccer, not just a soccer book, but something that does something with soccer that maybe plays into that cultural identity, that also that excitement of the World Cup in a new, interesting way. So I started researching the World Cup, looking for a mystery, a real mystery, not a fake one that I would make up in my mind, but something legit. And I found it, and it was all I like to say, I found it in plain sight. It was the trophy. The trophy before the FIFA World Cup trophy that we know today. It was called the Jules Rimet. It was named after a French FIFA commissioner. And it was the original trophy. But this trophy had gone missing twice. Um, and not only that, but in World War II, even the Nazis tried to steal it from Italy. So before it even went missing, there's a whole story about how the Nazis tried to steal this trophy from the Italians, and the Italian FIFA commissioner had to smuggle it out of the office building, take it to his home, hide it under some floorboards under his bed. And when the Nazis came to find it, they couldn't find it. So he saved that trophy. And then later in 1966, fast forward, this trophy is on display in London, England, because England is hosting the World Cup that year. Um, some robbers break into Westminster Abbey and steal the trophy when it's on display. They ask for a ransom for it, but FIFA refuses to pay the ransom. And the robbers, not knowing what to do with this trophy, just decide to throw it out a window and lands in some bushes. And get this, the next day, a sweet little dog named Pickles is walking down the street on his morning walk with his owner, and he sniffs out the trophy. He finds the trophy. And this cute little black and white dog named Pickles, this is a true story. He becomes like this national hero in England. He's featured in movies. They say he even got to
Wow.
meet, Queen Elizabeth, got to meet the royal family, got to meet the soccer players. He was such a hero for finding this trophy. Fast forward to 1970 now, Brazil, led by the great Pelé player, wins the trophy, wins the World Cup 3 times in a row, 3 times at least. And there was a rule that if you win the World Cup 3 times, you get to keep the trophy. So the trophy is now handed over to Brazil as safekeeping in perpetuity forever. This is what you get for winning the trophy 3 times. Meanwhile, FIFA is commissioning a brand new trophy, the trophy we know now. In 1983, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, decides to put the trophy on display. Once again, robbers break in, subdue the guards, and steal the trophy. And there's no pickles, no dog to save the day this time. The trophy is gone for good. It's disappeared and no one has ever seen it since.
Wow.
So, there's theories out there. I try to research as much as I could about the different theories of where people think it might have gone, if anyone was a suspect. And they brought people in, but all of them were sort of just acquitted of it. They were not involved. But some people believe it was melted down for its gold and silver.
Hmm.
And some people believe it's still sitting out there somewhere on someone's shelf, someone who just wanted to pay the price, pay the money to have this valuable trophy on their shelf for their lives. So we'll never know what happened to that trophy unless someone would ever step forward. So based on that sort of storied past of the trophy, and because the World Cup is coming to North America in 2026, this summer, this June it starts.
It's perfect.
I know. My imagination started running wild. Like, what if they put it on display again and it's stolen? And what would that be like? And what would happen? And then my main character, Raphael, not Raphael, Diaz Espada, decides he happens to be invited to this very exclusive VIP party in Miami,
Mhm.
Florida. His dad happens to be the director of valet parking. He parks all the fancy Lamborghinis and Ferraris that the guests come in. And he happens to be at the party, and guess what? The trophy goes missing. And so, because Diaz loves soccer, but he also loves sleuthing more, he kind of
Yeah.
imagines himself being a detective someday. He knows that he has to be the one to find this trophy before it's gone for good. And that's kind of where my story all starts. And we'll see where it ends if he finds it on time.
That was the most beautiful runway to the essence of the
Thank
book.
you.
So how was that fun for you as a soccer lover, like diving into this rich history and backstory that, I did not know a thing about until I was reading your book. How was that? Just diving in and letting yourself just get immersed in a topic that you love, first of all, and that
Super
eventually you're going to
fun.
write about.
Yeah, super fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I always tell kids who want to be writers, write what you love. Like if it's hard for you to
Yeah.
write, find a topic or a theme or something that you love because it makes it fun. And this is what it was for me. It made it fun because I just wanted to keep learning more and more and going down that rabbit hole of more stuff. And I'm lucky I found lots of stuff about Pickles the dog, but I didn't really find a lot about Brazil and Rio de Janeiro, what happened. So then I spoke to some Brazilians, some friends of mine that are Brazilian, and all of them remember the day it was
Wow.
stolen.
Wow.
And they feel a great shame for it, like a sense of embarrassment that this happened to them in their
In the
country, that they
country.
were given this trophy for winning the World Cup 3 times in a row and they lost it. It was stolen from them. And so I remember that sort of shame of that coming across. And that's just how important this game and this tournament
Yeah.
is to people.
Yeah.
And so, when I couldn't find information about it, I went through books and I talked to people, as many people as I could find. I talked to one of my cousins in Indianapolis who's been a soccer coach his whole life. He's the one that told me how to pronounce Jules Rimet. It's a French word. It's like Jules Rimet. I was saying Jules Rimet, the Jules Rimet trophy. And he was like, no, it's Jules Rimet, and I'm like, thank you for that. And then
Yeah.
another local soccer player here who's now retired, Diego Gutierrez, he took time out of his life to talk to me about the World Cup from a Colombian American perspective and his own life as a player. And so when I couldn't find information, I just went to people to
Yeah.
just get their information, their feelings, their emotions about it, and tried to infuse my novel with all of that as well.
Yes.
I think that's very important, and it's like you said. I mean, it is fun because when you're writing about something that's exciting to you anyway, it just makes the whole process much better.
Yeah.
Now, my biggest challenge was just how was I going to keep the reader from knowing who it was, not having too many clues, but enough clues to keep them on their toes.
Yes. Well, you kept me on my toes. That's
Good.
for sure. Um, but I love listening to you talk about that process and that love for it because that does come through front and center in this book.
Oh,
This
good.
true love for the sport and in all sorts of different ways, whether it is Diaz or his dad
Yes.
or all of the players and the stakeholders, so to speak, that are in this very high stakes area, you can just feel how the game is woven into so many of them as
Yeah.
just this way of being. Like this is just it. And that's really exciting that even if soccer isn't my complete thing, I love when people truly love something, even if it's not something that I love. It's like a contagious in a
Yeah.
way that gets you excited as well. And that is so palpable
Good.
throughout the book.
Oh,
First
good. Thank
with
you.
yeah, with soccer, but then also with that idea of sleuthing. Right.
Yeah.
So Diaz's dad is soccer, 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 and
Right.
Diaz is like soccer, yeah, but may not play as well or as much and kind of has these two different I don't want to say identities, but two loves.
Yeah.
Soccer on one hand, sleuthing on the other, and they kind of butt heads sometimes.
Yeah.
I won't I will not reveal anything in the end, no spoilers, but one thing I loved because I was always this kid too is can I be more than one thing? Like can I
Right.
be that really shy bookish girl who just wants to read and write in my notebook and do something unexpected that's going to surprise someone or maybe not be the path they thought that I would take. And so I love how in such a beautiful middle grade fashion, this idea of identity and who we are and being more than one thing, and those things can come together in
Yeah. They can
unexpected and
collide.
beautiful ways.
Hmm.
Oh, I just loved that takeaway from your book.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Writing the father was really fun. The dad is a super fun character, and
Yes.
I really liked him. And, but that love for mystery solving comes from Diaz's mom, right? We
Yeah.
learned that his mom has, passed away recently, that she was a librarian, and that she used to run her own mystery book club, and that was kind of, she kind of raised Diaz loving Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes and you know, finding answers to the world and finding you. So I love it that he's got his mom's side, his dad's side, and he's trying to balance them now. He's trying to figure out what's the right path for me and can't I do them both, and what happens when they collide. There's a couple scenes in there where he like wishes his mom was there, right? Like, when the case is getting really hard, like my mom would know what to do. I wish my mom was here. She would know what to do. And I think that's really beautiful because I think it's a book about soccer. It's a mystery, has friendship themes in it, but it's
Hmm.
also got this beautiful part of sort of grieving of this
Yes.
kid, being a sleuth and solving mysteries is a way of keeping his mom alive, very much alive to him. He's not ready to move on from that. Um, and not that his dad is either, but you definitely get the sense that his dad is kind of like, let's focus on
Yes.
soccer now,
Yes.
let's do these
Team
things.
soccer.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and he's just not ready to give up his mom yet and her love for mysteries and what she's shared with him about mysteries. So
Mhm.
it's a very sweet side of Diaz that I think it just makes him, he was a really sweet, kind character to write.
Yes. Yes, and I love that as well. The mom may not be there physically, but
Hmm.
present in the bag,
Hmm.
present in the lessons and the
Yes.
enthusiasm that she passed along is so beautifully woven in there. At the same time, you have this really wonderful, fast-paced kind of moving mystery that is happening. Also love, especially in a middle grade novel, the kids are getting stuff done.
Yes.
They they are finding clues and pushing their way respectfully into the doors that need to be opened for them and really showing I have something to share. I know something. I love that piece because so often, right, we underestimate kids or
Yes.
we don't let them kind of rise to the level that they might rise because of our own stuff or our own ideas and books where kids just shine and take the lead, especially one like this in such a high stakes mystery where the children potentially could, kind of save the day. I love that that puts kids front and center in the driver's seat.
Thank you, because I really, that's almost organic to me. It's not like something I even have to force do. I just always put kids in behind the steering wheel, so to speak. And, you know, kids don't want to read books about adults solving all the problems. They already experienced that in real life,
Right.
you
That's
know?
right.
And it's kind of fun when kids find themselves in strange situations and it's all on them, and it's not, like they want to solve these things. And the kids' characters are so fun. I mean, there's Diaz, there's Ria Salvatierra. So this girl he's kind of crushing on who's
Yeah.
engaged in all of this. And then Declan Reed, who's a fellow soccer player who often happens to be son of the captain of the police force. And then there's these two little brothers that are just prankster, Caleb and Kaio, who are just up to no good, causing trouble all over the place, but they also play a very key role.
Yes.
And just kind of, I feel like Caleb and Kai are always trying to outsmart the tweens. The tweens are always trying to outsmart the adults,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
adults are all too busy trying to outsmart each other.
Each
And, so
other.
yeah, and
That's it.
so, just these ridiculous adults around them that are just like, putting on a
Yeah.
show and trying to, and so I kind of love that too. And I found it very relatable to my own childhood of like the dynamics between
Mhm.
the different groups of always looking up at the adults like they can't figure out anything. I'm gonna take it on. And the little kids always trying to like pull on your coattail, trying to be like, I want to do this, And so
Yeah.
I hope that comes across because I felt like that's really where the characters shine is when the kids are together taking charge.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of that is why there is something for everyone here, right?
Oh, thank you.
The
Yes.
sports angle, the soccer, the sleuthing, the parent relationships, the friend relationships, the frenemy
Yeah.
relationships, like all of it is here, depending on the kind of reader you are, the kind of thing you lean into, you'll find something there in the book that feels like home and then just gets swept away
Yes.
by all of the other elements. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then there's race cars and a talking parrot and a cute little poodle
Yes,
in there too, a Gucci
yes, that's
poodle running around in Gucci.
yes.
I know.
There's everything. There truly is something for everyone.
Yeah, I had read an article in the New Yorker about the Fountain Blue in Las Vegas, this very exclusive hotel, right? And they have a mascot, and their mascot was a poodle one year. And so that's what gave me the inspiration for having these two animals, like the Soledad, the green parrot that talks and is kind of giving clues throughout the story. Was the former mascot of the hotel, but she's been pushed aside for a new purple poodle that wears Gucci and sunglasses. And it's just the ridiculous things we do. And meanwhile, this poodle's running around, and why is this poodle running around, and how are they involved in this? So it's just kind of all this really fun little things I try to put in there to create the setting of this Miami, very affluent
Yeah.
world that's kind of goofy, but it exists.
Yes. Yes. It is. It's great fun and it's a wonderful escape, right? Whether
Yes.
you're an
Oh, good.
adult or
Thank
a
you.
middle grade reader, just to sink into the book really does feel like you just enter that really wonderful world that you just
Thank you.
described. Now, as you think of your book going out there, it is literally just released 2 days ago. If someone is listening on the day that this podcast is released, what is your
Yay.
hope for the book or your hope for readers who get the book in their hands?
Ah, I think it's the same hope I have for every book, and that I just hope the kids like it, they love it, and
Yeah,
it makes them want to read more books. Like, I hope because of this book, they go, Mom, I really want to check out another mystery novel. And they find their book. They find
yeah,
their books that make them lifelong readers. Or,
yes,
Mom, I want to find more soccer books. Or, Mom, I want to watch a soccer match because this book introduced me to how fun soccer could be. Um, but really, ultimately, it's just to become a curious person and hopefully just a lifelong reader. That's all I can ask, is that this is the book that turns a hesitant, reluctant reader into a massive reader where they can't put books down. Yeah, that's what I hope.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that as a former educator of little people. I now teach
Yeah.
teachers, so I don't teach little people anymore, but that was the ultimate gift
Yeah.
of introducing a child to the book. And the very next thing they wanted to do was go to the next book. And
Yeah.
I know how that felt when they weren't my books.
Right.
When they're your books, that must
Yeah.
be quite a beautiful feeling.
No, I love it. And I love it when I receive emails or notes from people, parents and teachers saying like, my kid read your book 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And my kid never reads,
Yeah.
like that's like, wow,
Yeah.
good. That was the goal all
That was
along. I
the
mean, yes, of
ultimate.
course, to write a great story for every kid, but there's going to be those kids out there that never read and they're going to pick up this book and hopefully it'll be the one.
Yeah. Oh, it will. I'm pretty sure it will.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I hope so.
As I know we're talking about this book that is brand new, but can you give us any sneak peeks into maybe other books that might be coming our way or projects you're working on?
Yeah, so I'm going to be working on, I have an adventure, a fantasy adventure called Anomalies 53. The book one is already out there. It's called Into the Shadows, Anomalies 53 Into the Shadows. It's my first fantasy adventure. It's full of mythical creatures and two
Wow.
great main characters, Ollie and Garen. And book two comes out in July 2026, so right after the World Cup. No soccer involved in this one, but lots of mythical creatures. So if you've got a reader out there that just loves dragons, loves, all like unicorns and Pegasus, and
Yeah.
loves two kind of really fun best friends, and all the dynamics that go on with that. That book comes out, Anomalies 53, Dragon Dreams comes out in July 2026. And then I want to get back to working on probably another mystery for Diaz to solve. And the kids have really been asking for a new scary book too, to follow up with The Cursed Moon. So I'm trying to like figure out which one I should jump into next.
Yes. Oh, I'm guessing in my head which one it's going to be. It sounds wonderful. Between all of the different books you have, there truly is something for every kind of reader to just find
Oh
find
yeah.
something that they love. And I'll look forward to those new releases over the summer. That's
Thank you.
wonderful. Where is the best place that listeners can find you to keep up with those books that come next?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. That's probably where I'm most active. I think I still have a Facebook account, Angela Cervantes author. And I'm active there too, but I think most of the people have been following me on Instagram. And then also my website, if you ever want to know if I'm coming to your town to speak or if you want to reach out to me for an author visit, it's very easy. It's just my name, angelacervantes.com. And you can find information about upcoming readings, author visits, and even contact me if you want to.
Okay. I will put links to all of those places in the show notes, and of course
Thank you.
links to the books that we've talked about today
Great.
in the show notes as well. Thank you so much. This was so wonderful for me. I truly loved our conversation.
Oh, thank you. It meant a lot to me too. I really appreciate your love and support.
Thank you. And listeners, thank you for listening to another episode of KidLit Love, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the KidLit Love podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. You'll also find KidLit Love on Substack. That's where you'll find posts for each episode, monthly KidLit roundups, and an invitation to join my summer book club and go deeper into the world of children's literature. And if you loved this podcast and want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing to build a life you love. One more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of Kid Lit Love. Thanks for listening.